um, I am going to show you some Christmas cards I've been making, and I'm really excited to do that with you. I've started them a while ago because I tend to always be running a little bit late in getting them done, and my goal this year was to have them all done by November 1st. And the cards I'm going to share with you tonight, I just absolutely love. I think they're really beautiful and they're fun to make, so I wanted to be able to share them with you. We are going to be using 2 of the bundles. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks in working with the intricate dies, and some different ideas of how to put these cards together. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd be honored to be your demonstrator and would love to help you with any questions or supplies that you may need. At the end of the video, if you could give me a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. It'll help me grow my channel. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to leave me a message. I will try to watch the comments as we're going through the video, but I'm not real good at that, so if I don't get to your comment, I promise I'll go back and answer it afterwards. So I am going to flip the camera down and flip it over so that you see everything straight, and we'll get started. And I want to make sure that you can see. So I think we have a pretty good view here. And we are using 2 different bundles today. One is the Christmas season bundle, and that bundle is made up of the Christmas season stamps, but the seasonal label dies. Now, we're not going to use any of the stamps in this bundle today, but we are going to use some of the dies. And let me pull those out for you just to take a quick peek. There are 19 dies in this die set, and I just love it. And it does coordinate with the stamps so that as you stamp you can cut them out. And I just love the labels for these too, which we're going to be using for our cards. I'm going to move this off, and then our second bundle is on page 19 of our mini catalog, and it is the Christmas to Remember bundle, and it's lovely greetings and sayings for your cards. And then the die cuts are my absolute favorite. They're the Christmas Pinecone dies, and with this you get 2 large die sets, as you can see, and we will be using both for our card. And you get these different pine cones, the intricate cuts, and the base for the pine cones. So I'm excited to show you those, and we will be using all of this. And I'm going to pull in my catalog quickly just to show you in the mini catalog, the July to December, that's the Christmas season bundle is on page 18. And remember, if you get a bundle, you do get 10% off rather than buying things separately. And then if you go to page 19, you will see the Christmas to Remember bundle, which is the greetings and then those intricate dies. So really fun stamp sets, and I hope you're going to enjoy them as much as I do as we move through this evening. So with that, these are the cards that we're going, I'm showing you 3, we're going to make 2. Using both different die cuts, you can see the one here is a little bit thicker, and I will tell you as we go through with it, this was a little bit easier to work with. And then the more intricate die cut, I have some tips and tricks for you, and hopefully that'll make this one a little bit easier to use. So these are the cards we're going to make. I'm going to take those off to the side, and we're going to get started. I'm going to bring in our first card for us to make. And I've done a lot of the prep work because these dies are some work. And I'm hoping to be able to give you some tips and tricks with that. So before we even assemble, I do want to do that. When you're working with the dies like this, you have a lot of small cutout pieces, but you also have a lot of intricacy, and the paper can stick to the dies. So one of the things I do is I'm going to bring in my cutting plates, and I will take a piece of wax paper and I'll put the die down on the wax paper, and I will run this through my cut and emboss machine. It works wonders. It does a really nice job of putting like a finish on that die cut. It doesn't bother it at all. And I'm able to do 5 or 6 cuts with this die before I have any sticking of it, any of it sticking to the die, and before I have to run it through with that. So that's just a quick tip for you that I found has really worked. I also used it with the intricate pinecone cuts because these are very finely detailed, and I had no problem with paper sticking to those either. My other tip for you is when we are taking these out, and you can see how finely detailed this is. I had no problem with ripping or anything, but you don't always get the little pieces out that you hope to get out without ripping it. Also, I get these pieces all over the house. And so a tip for that is I use the Stampin' Up! Piercing mat, and I'll actually either put my die cut down and just press these out. And I did all of this except these few pieces just to show you. And these will stick to your piercing mat, and you don't have them all over the house. And then you can just take them and put them in the wastebasket. So it does save you for a mess. And then your die cut is perfect and ready to go. So that's what we're going to use here. Now, when I did the cards that I showed you, I used the bedazzling paper from Celebration. It was one of the packs or freebies that I got during that time. You may have it, you may not, but you don't need this. And I'm going to show you 2 other ways that you can do these pine cones, which I think are really pretty either way. So I'm going to bring those in. And I'm just going to kind of dump these out on here to show you. I used a couple different things, and it's all matter of taste, what you're going to like to use. Some of these were strictly out of the cardstock, and I used crumb cake, and I also used soft suede for the base. And what I did with those is, and I'm looking for my pieces here to show you, and I know they're in here because here's one of the crumb cakes, and then here is a base for the large pine cone. So 2 different things. You can take these and you just glue these on and make your pine cone, and you have a realistic looking pine cone with just the cardstock. The other option is to use the gold foil, which I have here, and you can use that separately, which we're going to do on this card, or you can attach it to the base of the soft suede. And you can see I have several of those here. Here's one with the gold foil, and here's one with the just the cardstock. So many options. So I'm going to push these off to the side, and we're going to get done talking and start putting things together here. I have a piece of basic white cardstock. Now, I did not use the thick cardstock for this, and the reason I didn't is I'm putting 2 other layers on this card. and I didn't want to make it any heavier by using the thick cardstock. This is an 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to fold this on our score line, and I'm going to use my bone folder just to get a nice sharp edge. Okay, the next piece was a piece of evening evergreen. I love this color. And this is going to go on my card base. And all of my pieces are cut by 1/8. So this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue and just go around the edge. And we're going to adhere that to the front. The reason I like the multi-purpose glue is that it's easy to slide and get into place. Now your next layer is a piece of basic white, and that's by Ace 2. So this is 4 by 5 1/4. You can use it plain, but I ran it through embossing folders. And the one embossing folder I used for this was Scripty. I just liked the look of it. When I do adhere my embossing folders, I always use my multi-purpose glue because I think with the unevenness of the back due to the embossing, I think it adheres better to your card. And we're going to go ahead and adhere this. Okay. Next is we have to attach or adhere this die cut. And you can see it's pretty fine. What I did with this one is I used our adhesive sheets, and I want to show you how to do that. I don't know how many of you have used adhesive sheets before, but I want to give you a quick idea of how to do that. I think it makes it much easier to adhere and go on, and you attach it before you even cut your die. So I just took a piece of scrap here, and this is the scrap evergreen, and the adhesive sheets come in a pack of 12, and you cut them to the size you need. So what I did is cut a piece, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere it, and I'll use this for something else, but I wanted to be able to show you. And then just peel off your back and adhere it down. Okay. Then when you go to use it, all you do is turn it over and place your die cut on it. Run it through your embossing machine. It actually comes out pretty easy because of that extra piece. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our pick tool, and I'm just going to start this in a certain spot, and we're going to just work our way and peel it back. And I think this works best with these fine dies because otherwise you have glue all over the pieces and also all over yourself. So I'm just going to work it gently through, and I probably should have done this and left just a piece on for you, but I know when I used this a couple weeks ago, most people had not used it and really weren't familiar with it. So I wanted to be able to show that to you. So here we go. I just peel. Okay, there we are. So now I'm going to put my die cut on my card. And I'm not going to adhere, or you can just try to reposition them. There we go. So what I'm going to do is just take my snips, because there's just a little bit of glue on these edges, And I'm just going to snip them off. Okay. And we now have our die cut on there. Next I want to decorate it. I want to put the pine cones on. So for this one, I'm just going to use the gold. And with this, I'm just going to take my glue. And another way to do it is you can sponge it on. And what I do is just put a little bit of glue on my silicone mat. And I have a little sponge here that I have on just a clip. And all you have to do is dip it lightly and bring your die cut over, and you simply just dab it. Jab it very gently. You don't need a lot of glue. And then you can pick it up and adhere it. And with these, I don't know if you can see the pine cone shapes. I'm just going to adhere this right to that pine cone shape from the die cut, just to give it some extra, dress it up. We're going to go ahead and put the rest of these on. Now as you do this, the one thing working with the glue is your hands get sticky. As you can see, it's sticking to my hands more than it is the paper. So I'm just going to hold it down and then gently pat it. There we go. And one thing to, I don't know if you use it, but I use hand sanitizer. And if you put just a little bit on and rub it on your fingers, it takes the glue off. So then the glue isn't sticking to your cardstock or to anything else. Go ahead and dab a little bit more. And I'm going to put this one on right here. I'm going to leave the pine cones at the bottom, or not put anything on them, because that's where my greeting is going to go. So here's another big pine cone. Just going to layer that there. Press it down. Okay. And then I stamped my greeting ahead of time. And this is from the Christmas to Remember stamp bundle. So I stamped it and die cut it out. But I also stamped, this is cherry cobbler. This is I think my new favorite color for the holidays. So what I want to do with this is I'm going to cut it in half because I want that color on the ends. So let's just snip it in half. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of glue at the end of this. And you can use your glue bottle too. And I'm going to adhere it right here. I just want a little bit of that color to show through. And we'll do that with the next one. Now this I'll put mount with Stampin' Dimensionals because I want it to be raised up a little bit. But before we adhere it, I want to add a ribbon. So there's our label with a little bit of color added to it. And then I have a piece of cherry cobbler ribbon. This is the cherry cobbler in gold. It's about 4 inches. And I just want to do a little bit that I can put it under here where the label's going to go. And to do that, I use my glue dots. So I'm going to take a glue dot, and I don't know about you, but I have trouble getting my ribbons to stay while I'm trying to adhere them to the cardstock. So all I do is take a little glue dot and put it in between the layers, and I get it to hold like that. And then I think this is going to go here, and we'll just bring this down. So I'm going to take another glue dot, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on the back before I adhere this to the card. And I just want to make sure where I'm going to put it. And then I'm going to take my Stampin' Dimensionals and put those on, and we'll adhere the greeting to the card. And we have one more. Okay, so then we're going to take our label and we're just going to put it right here, and I'm going to move it over just a little. And there's the front of our card. To do the inside greeting, I'm using the greeting, "May this be a Christmas to remember and cherish," and that is again from the Christmas to Remember bundle. And I'm going to go ahead and use the cherry cobbler. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp. And I have to tell you, I'm terrible at stamping straight. So what I'm going to do is I always use my grid paper to kind of line my paper up so that I know my paper is straight, and then I'll just stamp down. And for a change, it is straight. Now, to dress this up a little bit, you could put another, on the inside, you could put a pine cone, and just to give it a little bit of some dimension and something on the inside. And again, I'm going to go back to my glue and the sponge. I'm just going to adhere it a little bit, and we'll go in here and just put our pine cone down. You still have plenty of room for another greeting or to write a hand note. And here's your card. It's "Friends like you make this season special." So I have one more to show you that is going to look a little bit different because we use the different die cut. So let me go ahead and move this off to the side, and we're going to bring in this one, we're not going to use the gold. We're going to use our pine cones that we made with the cardstock. So again, this is an 8.5 by 5.5 card, and it is scored at 4 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and use my bone folder just to get a nice quick, "Hi Betty, I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad you could join us." And then again, I have the green cardstock for my base. And again, with this one, I did not use the heavy white cardstock because I've added so many layers to the front that I didn't want to add to the weight of mailing it and increase postage. So we're going to go ahead and adhere this. Okay, and with this one, the white layer that I embossed, I use the brick and mortar, which I really like the look of it. So I'm going to go ahead and again use my multi-purpose glue, simply because with the embossing, they don't stick. I don't find that the Stampin' Plus even holds it down quite as well, and the glue can kind of get in the crevices. So again, I'm going to put this down, and now with this card I use the other die cut, and you can see it's not quite as fine as this one was. There's more to the pine cones, and even the evergreen boughs are thicker. So with this, and because I wanted to show you another way to attach it, I did not use our adhesive sheets. So with this, we're going to go back to the glue, and I'm going to use my glue just to do some of the pine cones here because they're bigger. And you can try just dabbing on some of the boughs like that. And I'm going to take my glue and I'm just going to dab some of the boughs with my sponge. I find for me that has worked better. So just going to dab lightly. And you don't have to get it all over. I try to get the edges mostly and in the center a little bit so that it adheres. I'm just going to turn it around a little bit. I missed that pine cone. And we'll do this. And that's plenty. Now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this way. And we're going to go ahead and adhere this. And you can see it adheres quite well with that way. I got a little bit of glue there and probably need to get a little bit right on this edge. Okay, so I'm going to be able to move that over now, and I'm going to go back to my hand sanitizer because my hands are full of glue, and that sanitizer will take that off. Now I want to decide where I'm going to put my greeting. So I think I'm going to go right up here. So that's going to cover these pine cones. So I'm not going to have to do anything with those. And with these, I think we're going to use our pine cones with the crumb cake and the soft suede. Because we have a lot of new stampers out there that may not have all of the foil in that. So let's see what we can do with these. And we're just going to adhere them right where these pine cones are. And I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue here. And we're going to put these on. And I'm going to cover these here and these three here. And you can see most of the work is in cutting everything out. And if you get everything done like that, I mean, you stamp, once you get everything cut like that, you can really very quickly put cards together. This one is going to go here. So there's our pine cones, and I had another piece of ribbon here. We're going to go ahead and trim this off so that we have some nice edges here. And again, I'm going to use my glue dot, and I fold it over, and I'm going to take a glue dot and simply put one in the middle. Again, because I'm not good at getting them down before they come apart. And I find that it holds it quite nicely. Just here, and let's adhere this. I'm just going to put it a little bit on an angle. And then with this one, I did not use the cherry cobbler to outline it. We're just going to put it on with our Stampin' Dimensionals. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator and help you if you have any questions. Also, I will be doing on this coming Monday the bundle focus demonstration for October. So here's the front of our card. And I really like it with the pine cones. With the cardstock, and then all we have to do is stamp our inside. There are 2 bundles this month, and I'm going to keep it a secret as to which one I'm going to do. So here is our card, and I'm going to take a pine cone and I'm going to adhere it here. And then all we have to do is add a little bit of glue to the back, and we'll put it in the corner at the bottom. So here is our second card. Let me move these out of the way. So here's our first one where we use the finer die, and this is the one where you have the heavier bough branches. I would love to hear which is your favorite in your comments. So please leave me a comment. Let me know which one you like best and which of the pine cones you like best. I hope you enjoyed tonight's video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and explore your love of stamping and paper crafting. Have a good evening, and I hope to see you soon.